Hello, this pre-lecture presentation is intended to help you prepare some thoughts for Jo Iwasaki's guest lecture on Tuesday the 5th of November, which will be essential for your coursework and assignment preparation. Attendance at this guest lecture is crucial, as Jo is going to be discussing her paper, What Should Companies Be Responsible For? Firstly, some admin. There's no tutorials next week. That's to allow you to focus on finalising your coursework. However, Edna and Caroline will be available for short individual or pair appointments in your usual tutorial slots to discuss any queries you might have. Please contact your usual tutorial group tutor for an appointment. We're available by email to fix a time. And you'll get the most out of these meetings if you can send us by email a report plan, no more than one side of A4, at least 24 hours in advance. So just a reminder on the core elements of corporate governance, just a recap of what we've done so far. Corporate governance is about the controls in place, safeguarding assets, preventing any single individual from having too powerful an influence, and it's about relationships between management, board, shareholders and other stakeholders, importantly, and it's about encouraging accountability and transparency. We've looked at some of the collapses, briefly WorldCom, Bearings, Polypec, Mirror Group Newspapers, Maxwell, Enron, Arthur Andersen, and in your books is another one which I've referred to, BCCI. That takes us up to 2002. Here are some of the characters that were involved. You can see Nick Leeson there in the middle. Not sure whether you think they're a responsible looking lot or not. Here's been the responses in terms of the regulatory frameworks, the yellow arrows being the UK, and then you can see the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in the US there at the top after Enron and WorldCom collapsed. So quite a lot of activity over that time. So why did the financial crisis happen just a few years after the Enron and WorldCom collapsed? Was that legislation really all correct? There's been a number of papers written about the financial crisis and the role of corporate governance, and we will go on to look at some of this in more detail later in the course. However, a paper by Moxie and Berendt in 2008 summarises some of the bank's corporate governance failures. The failure to manage the link between business risk and remuneration incentives, short-term focus of remuneration, lacking risk management, lacking accountability within and between organisations, over-complexity of products, lack of management understanding of risks, excessive reliance on leverage, interconnectedness of banks, misalignment of interest in complex products, lack of desire for change, lack of vision, human greed, lack of training, poor oversight, insufficient non-executive director challenged, and complacency. All of these issues I think we've seen before with some of the other collapses. And this is all despite the fact that at least half of companies in the FTSE 350 fully comply with the provisions of the UK code, and most of the remainder are non-compliant with only one or two provisions, which might be things such as the length of time which their non-executive directors have been on the board, as we've seen with one of the examples we've looked at. So, companies are complying with the UK code in general, but the fundamental principles of good governance were still breached. Is this about individual accountability, or are there systemic problems? We've had a number of responses to the financial crisis in terms of corporate governance as well, summarised on this slide. Big pieces of legislation such as the Stewardship Code we will actually look at in later lectures in more detail. So where do we go from here? Have we got a fit-for-purpose system yet? I guess that's what the Institute of Chartered Accountants are asking in their paper, how responsible is your company? Does it achieve its business purpose? Does it adhere to laws and regulations? Does it act in a socially responsible way? Account for its actions? Jo's going to come in and discuss the background to her thought piece, why she's focused on the issues she's focused on. She's going to talk about different stakeholder groups she consulted with, but crucially she wants to hear your views and answer your questions, so please do come prepared to contribute to the discussion and ask her questions. We had some very good questions in the tutorial groups. So I want you to ask those and others on Tuesday. Thanks very much.